Here's something Tesco doesn't want you to know. The same kilo of stewing steak they're flogging you for £14 at the meat counter, your local butcher will sell for under £5. And that's before the loopholes start. There are 25 specific tricks British butchers have been quietly using for decades, ways to slash your meat bill by up to 70% that supermarkets pretend simply don't exist. Number 15 on this list was actually driven out of British shops by a marketing campaign so aggressive that King Charles started a national rescue mission for it. And number 3? Your grandfather would have laughed himself silly at how cheap it used to be. Now it sits on tasting menus in London at £30 a plate. Before we start, hit that subscribe button because what you're about to learn could genuinely save you hundreds of pounds a year. Let us count down the 25 forbidden British butcher loopholes that slash your meat bill by 70%. Number 25, the whole chicken jointing trick. A whole chicken from your butcher costs around £6 for a decent 1.8 kilogram bird. The same weight in chicken breasts at Sainsbury's? £18 minimum. That is a 200% markup for a few minutes of knife work. Your butcher will joint the bird for you free of charge if you ask politely. You walk out with 2 breasts, 2 thighs, 2 drumsticks, 2 wings, and the carcass. The carcass alone makes a litre of proper bone broth that would cost £4 at Waitrose in a Tetra Pak. The wings make Friday night snacks. The thighs go in a curry. The drumsticks roast for the kids. 1 bird, 4 meals, £6. Supermarkets push parts because parts are profitable. The whole bird tells the truth, and the whole bird has always told the truth. Number 24, chicken thighs over breasts. Chicken breasts have been marketed as the premium cut for 40 years now. The diet books, the fitness magazines, every cookery program on the BBC. Yet ask any chef which cut they cook at home and they will tell you thighs every time. Bone-in skin on chicken thighs cost about £5.50 a kilo at the butcher. Boneless, skinless breasts cost £14 a kilo at Tesco. The thighs have nearly twice the flavour because dark meat carries the iron and the fat. They cannot dry out. You can cook them for 25 minutes or 90 minutes and they stay juicy. The breast has a window of about 6 minutes before it turns into cardboard. Switch to thighs for everything that calls for chicken and you slash that part of your shopping by 60%. The kids will not even notice. Number 23, asking for chicken carcasses. This is the loophole nobody talks about. Walk into any traditional butcher on a Wednesday afternoon and ask if they have any chicken carcasses going spare. They will hand you 2 or 3 for 50p, sometimes free. These are the bones left over from butchers who joint birds for the display counter. Each carcass still has bits of meat clinging to it, plenty of cartilage, and that brown back meat that is the most flavorful part of the bird. Roast them for 40 minutes, then simmer with an onion, a carrot, and a bay leaf for 2 hours. You get nearly 2 litres of stock that tastes better than anything in a tin. The same volume of fresh stock at M&S costs £8. Your butcher would rather give carcasses away than throw them in the bin. So they tell their regulars and only their regulars. Number 22, bone-in cuts. The boneless chicken breast revolution of the 1990s did one thing for British supermarkets. It let them charge 40% more for less meat. A bone-in chicken thigh has more meat than the boneless version per pound paid because you are not paying anyone to debone it. Same with pork chops, same with leg of lamb. The bone adds flavor during cooking, conducts heat evenly through the meat, and stops the muscle from contracting and squeezing out moisture. Your butcher will sell you bone-in cuts at the proper weight, not at the marked-up boneless price. A bone-in pork chop costs £6 a kilo. The boneless version of the same cut costs £11. Same animal, same butcher, £5 difference per kilo for 30 seconds of knife work. We paid for that knife work because the marketing department said boneless was modern. Number 21, beef shin. This is the cut that built every great stew in British history. Beef shin, also called shank, is the muscle from the lower leg of the cow. It is loaded with collagen and connective tissue that breaks down into pure gelatin during slow cooking. That gelatin is what makes a proper stew thick and glossy and rich without any flour. Beef shin costs about £8 a kilo at a proper butcher. The exact same dish made with stewing steak from Tesco runs you £14 a kilo. The shin tastes better, holds together in chunks instead of falling to mush, and produces a sauce so rich it sticks to the back of a spoon. The supermarkets sell stewing steak because they have already trimmed off the bone and the silver skin. You pay for that trimming with every bite. Number 20. Lamb breast. Lamb breast is the cut that vanished from British dinner tables when supermarkets took over. It is fatty, it has bones, and it requires 3 hours of slow cooking. 3 things the modern shopper apparently cannot handle. So lamb breast retreated to the back of the butcher's cabinet, where it now sits at £3 a kilo. Compare that to lamb leg at £18 a kilo or lamb shoulder at £12. The breast is essentially the lamb equivalent of pork belly, layers of meat and fat that turn into something extraordinary after a long, slow roast. Score the skin, rub with garlic and rosemary, roast at 140 for 3 hours, then crank to 220 for 10 minutes. Sunday lunch for 6 people, £6 total. Your grandmother served this every other week. Now it is a chef's special at gastropubs, charging £24. Number 19, the Bavette steak. First pattern break. Here is where it gets interesting. Bavette steak, also called skirt or hanger, is the cut French butchers kept for themselves for 200 years. The English name was butcher's steak because if you ever asked for it, the butcher would tell you it was already gone. He had taken it home for his own dinner. This is no exaggeration. Bavette comes from the diaphragm muscle, an area that gets a constant workout, which means dense beefy flavor and a beautiful loose grain. It is the cut that tastes most like beef of any cut on the cow. Cooked rare in 3 minutes aside, sliced against the grain, it eats like sirloin at a third of the price. Bavette costs about £14 a kilo. Sirloin costs £35. The flavor comparison is not even close. Bavette wins. The butchers always knew. The supermarkets sold us sirloin instead. Number 18, pork shoulder. The leanest cut of pork, the loin, costs roughly £11 a kilo at a butcher. The fattiest cut, the shoulder, costs £6. The shoulder, slow roasted for 6 hours at 140 degrees, produces enough pulled pork to feed 8 people for a tenner total. The loin, no matter how you cook it, ends up dry. Pork shoulder is mostly muscle interlaced with fat and connective tissue. That fat melts during the long roast, basting the meat from inside, while the connective tissue breaks down to silk. There is no way to ruin a pork shoulder. There is barely a way to cook a loin that does not ruin it. Shoulder makes better roast. Shoulder makes better mince. Shoulder makes better casserole. The shoulder is half the price. We bought loin because the supermarkets pushed it. Number 17, asking for trimmings. This is the loophole that requires only courage. Walk in and ask the butcher what trim he has going today. Beef trimmings, pork trimmings, lamb trimmings. These are the offcuts left when he prepares the display cuts, the bits too small or oddly shaped to sell as steaks. They are perfectly good meat, often the most flavorful parts, sold for a pittance because the butcher does not want to throw them away. A bag of beef trim costs about £4 a kilo when proper stewing meat costs £12. A bag of pork trim makes the best sausage filling you have ever tasted at £3 a kilo. The butcher actually wants you to take the trim because it saves him bin space. He will not advertise it. You have to ask. Once you have asked, you become the customer who gets first refusal on every batch. Number 16, chicken wings. Chicken wings have somehow become trendy. Buffalo wings on every pub menu at £8 for 6. Yet the butcher will sell you a kilo of fresh wings for under £4. That is 15 wings for the price of 2 pub wings. The wings are mostly skin and bone, but skin and bone are flavor and gelatin. Roasted hot at 220 with paprika and salt, then tossed in a sauce of butter and hot sauce, they make a Friday night feast for a £5. The supermarkets bag them up at £8 a kilo and call them a premium product. The butcher sells them as the cheap end of the bird. Same wings, same chicken, double the markup for cardboard packaging. Skip the supermarket. Buy a kilo from the butcher. Feed the family for the price of a coffee. Number 15, mutton. Second pattern break. Controversy incoming. In 1955, mutton was the meat of British Sunday roasts. Lamb under a year old was a luxury, But mutton, sheep over 2 years, was the workhorse, costing about half as much per pound. Then something strange happened. The lamb marketing campaigns of the late 60s and 70s drove mutton out of British shops almost entirely. Housewives were told mutton was tough, gamey, and old-fashioned. By 1985, you could not buy mutton at any major supermarket. King Charles, then Prince Charles, started the Mutton Renaissance campaign in 2004 specifically because he saw what had been lost. Mutton has more flavor than lamb, is far cheaper, and still anchors Indian, Pakistani, and Middle Eastern cuisines globally. Your butcher can order mutton if you ask. It costs about £8 a kilo for what the lamb board did not want you to buy. The flavor is extraordinary. Number 14, pig cheeks. Pig cheeks are facial muscles. The pig spends its entire life chewing, which means the cheek muscle is densely packed with flavor and laced with collagen. Slow braised for 2 hours, pig cheeks go from rubber to silk. They literally fall apart on a fork. A kilo of pig cheeks at the butcher costs about £7. There are usually 6 to 8 cheeks per kilo, enough to feed 4 people generously. The same weight in pork loin steaks would cost £14, taste of nothing without a sauce, and dry out if you so much as breathe wrong. Pig cheek braised in cider with apples and onions is one of the great forgotten dishes of southern England. The cheeks are not in the supermarket because nobody knows what to do with them. Your butcher has them every week. He sells about 3 kilos to the same 4 customers and bins the rest. Number 13, beef cheeks. The same logic as pig cheeks, but bigger. Beef cheek is a single dense muscle weighing about 800 grams per side. Slow braised for 4 hours in red wine, it becomes the richest, most luxurious bit of beef you will ever eat. Restaurants serve it as a £32 main course. Your butcher sells the same cheek for £9 a kilo, which is roughly £7 per cheek. One cheek feeds 3 people with mash and greens. Total cost of the meal, about £10. The same dish at a London restaurant runs you £100 for 3. Beef cheek was traditionally given to butchers as part of their pay because nobody else knew what to do with it. They took the cheeks home and ate like kings. Now Heston Blumenthal builds tasting menus around it. The butcher still has them at the same price he always did. You just have to ask. Number 12. Chicken livers. Chicken livers are the cheapest source of premium protein in the British food system. A 250-gram tub costs about £1.80 at the butcher, less than half what supermarket organic chicken liver pâté costs in a tiny terrine. Yet a half kilo of livers makes a proper terrine that serves 12 people, a meal that would cost £80 at a restaurant. Quickly fried with sage butter and marsala wine, chicken livers on toast is a starter that rivals anything in a Michelin guide. They are also the densest source of bioavailable iron, vitamin A, and B12 you can buy. Yet the supermarkets barely stock them because British shoppers are squeamish about offal. Your butcher has fresh livers daily, often discounted at the end of the day because they need to move fast. Buy a kilo, eat half that night, freeze the rest in 250-gram portions. A month of starters for under £5. Number 11, end-of-day markdowns. This is the loophole everyone knows about but nobody actually uses. British butchers cannot freeze fresh display meat overnight. Health regulations require they sell it that day or mark it down significantly. Walk in at 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon and you will find pork chops at £4 a kilo instead of £8, chicken thighs at £3 a kilo instead of £5.50, and prime cuts of beef discounted by 30 to 50%. The butcher would rather sell at a loss than throw the meat away. Some butchers have a regular crowd that arrives at 4:15 every weekend, specifically for this reason. Get to know your butcher's closing time. Show up an hour before. Buy what is on the discount counter. Freeze it that night. You will cut your meat bill by half doing nothing more sophisticated than turning up at the right hour. Number 10. Marrow bones. Third pattern break. Until about 2010, marrow bones were free. You walked into the butcher, said you were making stock, and walked out with 2 kilos of beef bones gratis. Then Fergus Henderson at St. John in London started serving roasted bone marrow on toast as a starter. Suddenly the foodies discovered marrow. Suddenly Heston had a recipe. Suddenly, Waitrose was selling marrow bones at £8 a kilo in vacuum packs. Here is the wild part. Your local butcher still sells them for about £2 a kilo. Some still give them away if you're a regular. Roasted at 220 for 15 minutes with sea salt, scooped onto toast with a smear of parsley salad, marrow on toast is the cheapest expensive food you will ever eat. The same dish at a restaurant runs £14 for 2 pieces. At home, it costs about 30 pence. Restaurants discovered the loophole. Butchers know. Tell nobody. Number 9. Mince your own. A standard mincer attachment for any food processor costs about £25 once. After that, you can grind any cut of beef into mince at home in 5 minutes. Why does this matter? Because supermarket mince is the leftover trim from cuts they could not sell as steaks, often loaded with sinew and water, with the fat content adjusted by adding extra fat back in. You have no idea what is in there. Buy a piece of beef chuck at £8 a kilo from the butcher, mince it at home, and you have proper mince made from a single cut at half the price of even the cheapest supermarket version. The flavor is incomparable. The texture is loose and proper instead of pasty. You can adjust the fat percentage to whatever you want. One mincer pays for itself in about 3 months. Number 8. Lamb neck. Lamb neck, also called scrag end, is the cut between the head and the shoulder. It is bony, slightly fatty, and absolutely loaded with flavor. Slow cooked for 3 hours in a Lancashire hot pot, lamb neck makes the dish that built the north of England. A kilo costs about £5 at the butcher. The same weight in lamb shoulder costs £12. Lamb leg costs £18. The neck has more flavor than either because it is a hard-working muscle. The bones in the neck enrich the cooking liquor, creating a stew so rich you barely need stock. Lamb neck disappeared from supermarket shelves because it requires butchering skill to break it down properly. The butcher does it in 30 seconds. The supermarket would have to pay someone to do it, so they simply do not stock the cut. £6 of lamb neck feeds 5 people with mash and peas. Number 7. Pork belly. Pork belly was the cut your grandmother used for streaky bacon, lardons, and the occasional Sunday roast. Then, in about 2005, every gastropub in London discovered it, and the price of pork belly tripled in supermarkets overnight. Yet your butcher still sells it for about £7 a kilo. The supermarket version sits at £12. Same cut, same animal, £5 difference because the supermarket buyer realized they could charge more once it became fashionable. Pork belly slow roasted at 160 for 3 hours, then blasted at 220 for 15 minutes, produces crackling so good it borders on illegal. A kilo of belly feeds 5 people with leftovers for sandwiches. It is the cut that taught British cooks how to render fat without burning, how to score skin without cutting too deep, how to make crackling that shatters under a knife. Buy from a butcher and you pay 1980s prices. Number 6. Chuck steak. Chuck is the cut that everyone in America knows about and almost nobody in Britain remembers. It comes from the shoulder of the cow, a working muscle full of connective tissue that breaks down beautifully in a slow cook. Braised for 3 hours in stock and red wine, chuck makes the best beef stew of your life for £8 a kilo. The same dish made with proper stewing steak from a supermarket runs you £14 a kilo and tastes worse because the supermarket stewing steak is over-trimmed. Chuck retains the flavor of the bone and connective tissue because the butcher does not bother trimming it. He sells it to you the same way it came off the carcass. Old British recipe books call this cut blade or chuck blade. You will not find it labeled on any supermarket shelf. The butcher has it every week. Number 5. Half a lamb. 4th pattern break. This is the loophole that the supermarkets actively cannot offer because their entire business model would collapse. Buy half a lamb directly from your butcher and you pay roughly £8 a kilo for every cut. That includes the leg, the shoulder, the neck, the breast, the chops, the loin, and all the offal. The same cuts bought separately from a supermarket would average around £18 a kilo. The mathematics are brutal. A half lamb weighs roughly 12 kilos. You pay about £100 from the butcher. The same meat from Tesco would cost £220. You save £120 in one transaction. The catch? You need a chest freezer. Once you have a chest freezer, you can buy half lambs in spring, half pigs in autumn, and a quarter of beef around Christmas. Your meat bill drops by 60% for the year. The supermarket cannot compete. They never could. Number 4. Hogget. Hogget is the cut between lamb and mutton, a sheep aged between 1 and 2 years. It costs roughly £10 a kilo, sitting halfway between lamb at £18 and mutton at £8. The flavour is more developed than lamb, less assertive than mutton, and most British cooks have never tasted it because supermarkets stopped stocking it in the 1970s. The Lamb Marketing Board pushed all young sheep meat under the lamb label, and Hogget vanished from public consciousness. Yet old British roasts called for Hogget specifically because the meat had a year to develop flavour while staying tender. Restaurants now charge £28 for Hogget shoulder when it costs the chef £8 a kilo. Your butcher can order Hogget with a week's notice. Most do not bother stocking it because nobody asks. Become the customer who asks. Become the customer who eats like a 1955 farmer for half the price. Number 3. Featherblade. Featherblade is the cut chefs spent 20 years trying to keep secret. It comes from the shoulder of the beef, a flat steak with a line of connective tissue running through the middle. Cooked quickly on a hot grill, it eats like rump steak at twice the tenderness. Cooked slowly for 3 hours, it falls apart into something rivaling beef cheek. Featherblade costs about £12 a kilo at a proper butcher. The closest equivalent supermarket cut, sirloin, costs £35. The flavour and texture comparison favours Featherblade in every blind taste test ever conducted at culinary schools. Yet, it is not on a single supermarket shelf in Britain because butchers cannot break it down with machines. It requires a knife, a steady hand, and about 3 minutes per beast. Your butcher has them. He just keeps them in the back. Ask, pay £12. Eat better than the man at the next table paying £35. Number 2. Beef brisket. American barbecue made beef brisket fashionable in Britain about 10 years ago. Before that, it was the cut your grandmother used for boiled beef and carrots, costing about £4 a kilo. Now your butcher charges £10 a kilo, and Waitrose charges £18. The supermarket markup on brisket is the steepest of any beef cut on the British market. Yet the butcher version is not just cheaper. It is also better quality because the butcher has not pumped it full of brine for shelf stability. A whole brisket from your butcher weighs about 4 kilos. Smoked low and slow for 10 hours, it feeds 12 people generously. Total cost about £40. The same meal in a barbecue restaurant in London would cost £240. Brisket teaches patience. Brisket teaches that fat is flavour. Brisket teaches what your grandmother already knew. The butcher sells the truth at half the supermarket price. And finally, in first place, the butcher relationship itself. 5th pattern break, but really the only one that matters, because it is the master loophole that makes every other loophole on this list work. Walk in twice a week for a month. Learn his name. Ask his opinion on cuts. Trust his recommendations. Buy what he suggests, not what you came in for. Within 3 visits, he starts setting things aside for you. The Bavette he was going to take home goes to you instead. The bag of trim he would have sold to the dog food collector goes in your basket for £2. The carcass goes in your stock pot for free. The brisket gets discounted because you bought a whole shoulder last week. This is not a transaction. It is a craft economy older than the supermarket by 3 centuries, and it still operates the same way it operated in 1853. Your butcher wants regular customers more than he wants high margins. Become the regular, and you become the customer who pays 30% less than the person walking in cold. Tens of thousands of British families figured this out and never went back to Tesco. Here is my challenge. Pick one. Just one of these loopholes. Walk into your local butcher this Saturday. Ask for chicken carcasses, or marrow bones, or a kilo of beef trim. See what happens. Then come back and tell me whether your meat bill dropped or stayed the same. Because I tested every one of these. My freezer has half a lamb in it. My fridge has Bavette steak from a butcher who now sets one aside for me every Wednesday. Share which loophole you're going to try first in the comments. The butcher economy still exists. It just got buried under fluorescent supermarket lights for 40 years. Your grandparents knew. Now you know too.